Okay, so bear with me today. I don't have a camera lady. It's not a cameraman. If I said that, she may be offended, so I'm going to avoid that. So I'm going to have a little bit different angles, but I'm going to do what I can. Sorry for the wind too. It's windier than hell here. But I'm going to run a few rounds through this CR920. I know you guys seen a lot of it. I'm sure there's a ton of videos on the internet, but I'm just going to run it. Okay guys, so I wanted to put out a video on the CR920. I know I did a few comparisons and stuff, but I do still get a lot of questions about it, and it seems to be a hot topic yet, if you should get it, if you shouldn't. So I wanted to make this because I have about 1,000 rounds through it. So I shoot it quite a bit because I carry it. I rotate it out with a couple others, but I do primarily carry it over the other options I have. So my impressions, well, I would say my conclusions on this gun is, as far as we'll just address the trigger issue, because I see a lot of comments about that, and some people probably have different experiences than I do. So my trigger's been totally fine. It's not a competition trigger. It's not like shooting the Zev by any means. But when you do get past that little bit, of creep, where a lot of people are saying it's sandy and gritty feeling. So I don't have that much, maybe a little bit, but nothing where it's like, oh my God, this is a terrible trigger. And honestly, since I've been shooting it more, I think it's just gotten better and better. So like I said, around 1,000 rounds through it, I'll give you a little demonstration of the trigger here while we get going. It is empty, but just to give you guys a little bit of a look at it. So little bit of take up, and I think right here is where everybody's talking. So when I go to depress the blade and I start pulling, it isn't perfectly smooth. Actually, you can see it here, kind of choppy. That's me pulling consistently, and then I'll hit that wall here, and just a little bit of creep. But so when it hits the wall, it's almost like it feels like a false wall. So if that makes any sense. So I'll get all the take up out of it, and right here, it feels like it's hitting a wall, right? But when I go to depress the trigger further, you see it has a little bit of creep in there, and then it'll break. So I'm not sitting here shooting, competition and anything crazy with this. There are definitely better triggers out there, don't get me wrong, but I have never had a problem with grouping. I've never had a problem with, like I mentioned, and like, holy crap, this is a terrible trigger. And I do understand where people are coming from. It's on the little bit higher end for price-wise for a sub-comp gun, but I think all the positives of this gun kind of overshadow that. And I'm going to go over a few now, and by this point, I'm sure a lot of you guys have done research, and there's a lot of guys that have a lot more rounds through theirs than I do. So the things that I love about it, right out of the gate, and I noticed it immediately when I started shooting it, was for my hand size, it fits my hand really, really well. So it feels like a full size to me. Not necessarily a full size, but it does feel like, it doesn't feel like I'm holding a little pocket gun. And that's a big thing for me because I can't shoot really small guns. I would rather not carry them because I can't group. I can't, I'm not confident with them. So that's a big thing for me, is the feel of it. And that goes right down to the grip, kind of has that neutral grip line here. The stippling in it is actually really nice. It kind of feels like, 80 grit sandpaper, just not as harsh. That's really nice here. Also on the release here, you have some good serrations. Let me turn let me see if you can see it, but some good serrations there on the release. And I like that. You get a solid feel for it right away. Moving up to the slide, it does have some good serrations in it. They're actually pretty sharp. And I've mentioned this in other videos. I just put out that video on that Zev. I do like that sharp feel. I don't like when they're rounded, and that's personal preference for me. And I have not put an optic on this yet because honestly, I've just been running it as much as I can. And I really enjoy the iron sights, which that brings me there. It does have that blacked out rear and the tritium front sights. So there's a sight picture, I guess, against the black cabinets there. For me personally, I love that. It's just really easy for me to find that front sight, and there's no distractions. I am colorblind, so once if you get that 3-dot, you get the white and the white in the rear, it just distorts it for me. So me personally, I like that a lot. And as far as mounting an optic goes, I do have the 920, and it does come with the shim kit just like this. So whatever you're gonna mount up, Holosun, Trijicon, etc. I actually have the Swamp Fox on my MR 920, and I really like that a lot. But I do run Holosun for other stuff. But anyway, point being is that they mount up to this really, really nicely. As far as consistency with accuracy goes, it's as accurate as I can be. So I've never had anything where I was like, geez, that felt like a really good shot, but I have a flyer. That's going to happen. I'm not the best shot in the world. So that's one thing, there's going to be guys that can run these a hell of a lot better than I can and have no problem. So those are kind of my pros. I'll add one more pro to it. So it's a 13+1 capacity, which is huge. And I wanted to mention too, I carry a G-code stealth holster. So I carry that with this gun, and it sits really, really well. It's super comfortable. So I thought when I first added this 13+1 in there, because the 10+1 is flush fitting, this one's not. It doesn't print at all to me, and I carry appendix, so that does help a little bit, but it doesn't print whatsoever, and it's actually really comfortable to carry. And I do think that the holster makes a big difference. I've run these G codes for a long time now, and they seem to work really well and hold up really well too. So that's a big thing for me. You're not going to carry it if it's really uncomfortable. Another thing, you're not going to shoot it a lot if you don't enjoy shooting it. So those are kind of my pros with the gun. And let me add quick, and to get to reliability, I've never had one malfunction with this. No failure to feed, it always goes fully into battery, no stovepipe, nothing like that. So that's why I carry it very confidently. I do not have a problem with that. And I know they have a little bit looser tolerances here, and you can see, and I know a lot of people, let me move my hand, you can see the recoil spring in there. You can see against the silver. So I've heard mention of that, and I could actually kind of close that down, but what that's going to do really is it's not going to bind up on anything. So there's a lot of people that don't clean their guns a lot. I try to very, very often, and I believe it's a good habit to get into, but it's going to run. So as far as cons go, I was going to move back to this. So when you do put that 13+1 in, which I would assume a majority are going to carry with, unless you're in a state that, hates guns, which seems to be growing now, you can't carry a larger magazine like this, is I don't like shooting it as much when you have this little gap. So I'm assuming somebody's going to make something, and put it in the comments somebody has, if somebody's going to make a little piece here so it almost continues the grip. So this part is taken up. So it kind of feels a little bit weird, like the palm of my hand goes in there. But my conclusion of it, it's a great gun. I have not had problems personally with this one. I know some people have, and I'm fortunate I haven't, but you gotta remember, this is Shadow's basically entry into the subcompact world, and I think they did a hell of a good job. And I know they're based on, Glock-ish type of thing, but the market's really saturated, and I know a lot of people go with the 365, think of the Glocks, all sorts of guns like that, and there's a lot of them out there. But I think for this being their entry gun for the subcompact market, it's a hell of a good start. So they're only going to go up from there. And as far as working with the company, I've had a couple questions, actually just a few things about the channel, and let me clear this up right away. I get no support from Shadow whatsoever, so I'm totally not biased any which way. But I personally really enjoy the gun. I think it's worth it. It's been incredibly reliable. It's fun to shoot. It's not real snappy at all, and a lot of that will come down to your grip. But for me, guys, I really like it. So I will let you know if any problems arise with it. Hopefully not. I probably just jinxed it, so I'm gonna throw this thing out right now. I wanted to mention quick, so I'm nearing 500 subscribers, and that's not a lot, I get it, but for me, that's huge. I thought when I started the channel, nobody would watch stuff. You always have that thought, like, well, would I watch this? But I couldn't be more grateful that people have been. And I'm actually reaching out to companies to try to get my hands on things to test out, whether it be optics, sling systems, firearms eventually. That's a little bit tougher to do. So I'm really trying to push to get content out because I really enjoy doing this. I really enjoy the conversation with you guys. And I will mention one more time that the giveaway for that Stoeger STR9C is still on. We're 500 away, and one of you is going to get that. I don't see any other gun channels putting out. I get it, it's not a Kimber, it's not a Zev, it's not something like that, but I tell you what, if there was a channel giving out a free gun for 1,000 subscribers, that is about the best odds you are ever going to find, and I will continue to grow with what I give away. It's just financially, I can't go out and buy, a $1,000 gun and give it away the next day. So I really appreciate the support, and thanks for sticking around, guys. Okay, I'm going to try a few shots with one hand, see if I can show off any of my muzzle control, which is lacking if there even is any. So I'm going to give this a go, just see if you guys can tell how much flip there is. If you ever had to use it with one hand, be a lot more badass, but a hell of a lot more ineffective. But let's give it a go. It started out so good. I thought I would never shoot two-handed again. But no, guys, if it didn't show it, it's really easy to control. As long as you have a good grip, it's really easy to stay on target. So I hope that kind of showed it a little bit. I'm going to try to practice that more because it got a little bit rough at the end there, but always improvements to make.